Media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? It's time for another episode of Obscurity Now, the show that takes a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media and then tries to decide if the said media should be tossed into the void of obscurity, never to be heard from again or remembered for all of human history. I'm one of the hosts, Steve, and with me is a man who was banished from the Midnight Society because his stories were just too damn sexy. It's...
It's Yahel. How are you doing, Steve? Damn, that was I think my favorite intro.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I started thinking about it a few hours ago before we got to this.
Well, you can really tell that one was at least a few hours worth of thinking, workshopping with your team.
Does that make my team, my team of me and myself and I?
Yeah, Steve, we need to talk about your mental health after the show.
That's one thing I've always wanted to say. Like, I know you don't spend a lot of time on TikTok, and I probably spend more than I should, but like, I always hate those guys that are like, let me tell you how I create, like, I don't know, 80 pieces of content in just like, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
First, I record an episode and then I send it to my team. I'm like, there's no team, man. It's just you. Like, they all have a team. I'm like, and if you have a team, like, I don't know, like, what are you even doing on TikTok? Like, have one of your team members do the video. But
dude, I saw one of those guys the other day. His whole thing was like, okay, this is how I create, 80 pieces of content. Mm-hmm. He went to an article, copied and pasted the article into an AI that rewords.
I saw that. Yeah. I was like,
yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, now you can cut this up, and then he puts it back through again to get like another.
Yeah, it's messed up. Like,
unbelievable.
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, obviously, both of us would love a career either out of YouTube or TikTok or just making content of some kind. But like repurposing other people's content, like that just seems like a ripoff or carny behavior. If I could bring it back to our episode subject today.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Steve. And speaking of carny behavior, there is some in this episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Ooh, nice transition. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you failed to read the thumbnail or missed one of my many tweets, we're discussing the classic...
If you missed Steve outside of your door, sign.
I was out on Hollywood Boulevard today with a giant, one of those sandwich boards, flipping it, telling everyone that we're talking about Are You Afraid of the Dark, the original...
Steve, that seems like a lot to read while you're flipping a sign, like, for someone that's driving by, Are You Afraid of the Dark on Reptilian Media? It seems like a lot for them to like...
I made it work. I just said it really fast. I was like, I'm scared now. Are you afraid of the dark? You gotta go watch it right now.
Oh, that'll totally work.
Oh, yeah. That's hey, well, the numbers won't lie. When this episode is over, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell the whole world how well this episode is doing.
Yeah, I think the numbers might spell disaster, as a certain professor would say.
It's very possible. So no, this is a early 90s Nickelodeon horror anthology geared towards kids. But before we get into Are You Afraid of the Dark, I'd like to know, I mean, this is our first time talking about anything from Nickelodeon. And I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a young lad, Nickelodeon was pretty important to me because it was the kids channel. You weren't cool if you weren't watching Nickelodeon. So what are some of your earliest...
So if your family couldn't afford cable, well, I guess you're just a loser in Steve's eyes.
It's true.
Because you weren't cool.
Yes. So just turn the episode off right now. No, please don't. We need your download or your sub. Please don't. But no. What are some of your earliest...
It's free, so it's right up your alley, right?
Exactly. What are some of your earliest memories of Nickelodeon?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was real big into Nickelodeon 2 from its early days. like are you you can't do that on
Oh
television
yeah.
was one of like my favorites of their early shows.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really liked all their stuff, man. Like I Wild and Crazy
Oh
Kids
yeah,
was
classic.
great.
Hmm.
You know, Nickelodeon Guts,
Yep.
Nick
That was a
Arcade.
little bit
I
later.
loved all this stuff on on Snick,
Oh yep,
which
yep.
we're going to talk about.
Right.
Um,
I feel like that Are You Afraid of the Dark came out a little bit earlier and then got assimilated into Snick. I guess which most of the Snick stuff was. When I was doing my research, they said it premiered as a special first. And then I guess it
yeah,
did so well they made it into a series. Like, did you watch Danger Mouse when it was on Nickelodeon?
I don't think
Like
so.
that's my earliest memory of a Nickelodeon. That's like I mean I swear that must be from like 4 5 years old. I just remember that, and you can't do that on television in the really early days of a Nickelodeon. How about, do you remember Hey Dude? You remember that
Oh, I
show?
loved Hey Dude. I was at a horror convention last weekend. I
Hmm.
think it was last weekend. And yeah, there was a guy selling like the complete Hey Dude series on DVD.
Was it a
I
bootleg
was
or the real deal?
it looked like it might have been a legit release,
Hmm.
either that or a really nicely done bootleg.
Hmm.
But I was kind of tempted to get
Did
it.
you go around and impress everyone with your knowledge of WNUF and the Out There Halloween mega tape?
You know what, Steve? It didn't come up in conversation.
Oh,
Funny.
no, you're supposed to bring it up. You're supposed to go, hey,
Oh,
hey, kid, you think you're into horror? Let me tell you about something that's so obscure you probably never heard about it. Step into my van. And well, no, I mean, I really think people should be talking about those movies. But anyway, that's a couple episodes ago. Check it out if you want. Are you ready to dig a little deeper into Are You Afraid of the Dark?
let's do it.
All right.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right. So, when did you like remember first watching an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and which one was it?
I watched the original. Like in fact, this episode I've watched several times.
Yeah, that's why I
Um,
picked this one because it's the one that I remember most vividly, and actually
I
being
think
like
yeah,
sort of creeped out by.
I think this episode and the one with Zeke the plumber are kind
Oh
of like the
man, I
two
forgot
that
all
are
about that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah,
How about the? It's actually 2 episodes after this. I think it's called the Monkey's Paw, or basically it's a take on that Monkey's Paw, where
mhm.
they steal the monkey's paw from some old lady and make wishes.
Wow, what a description. Netflix, somebody hired this man to write your show descriptions.
Hey, that's what 5 years of podcasting. I don't think it's been that long, but that's how I got so good. Yahel, practice.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I watched all of the episodes from the beginning. I think I might have caught it initially on Snick.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I think I remember it catching it one Halloween. That it was just sort of like a one-off, and then later discovered that they were making a series out of it, and I was like, yes, that's right up my alley because there wasn't a whole lot. I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of mainstream horror back then. I mean, I don't know about you, but at the time this was going on, I was watching like Tales from the Crypt at the same time.
Yeah,
But I mean, I still liked both of them. I mean, obviously, one's a little more R-rated than the other, but I
yeah,
mean, good writing's
it's a
good
touch.
writing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but as did you watch any of the other shows on Snick
Oh yeah,
or
I loved Snick. I mean, I remember the original lineup was, I think it was like Clarissa Explains It All, and then I remember we actually talked about Roundhouse several times on previous
yeah,
episodes. I feel like other people didn't really care for Roundhouse, but I liked it. And then, of course,
Well, and then they just made like a crappier version. I loved Roundhouse. I think it was just like a little too smart
yeah, a
for
little
the
older
audience.
than like the audience.
Yeah, but Snick for that's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be for like teens,
Right,
basically.
right. Really cool
Um,
teens. Oh,
it stood for Saturday Night Nickelodeon or something like that because it aired at Saturdays,
mm-hmm.
starting at 8 or 9. I can't remember.
Yep.
I think some of like didn't Ren and Stimpy start there
Yeah,
too? I
they
think.
had. I think Ren and Stimpy was after Roundhouse and right before Are You Afraid of the Dark? I guess kind of, I guess some sort of
Yeah,
weird transition till we get to the horror.
yeah.
But yeah,
And I think at the end was like didn't have that show Silk Stockings Junior. Uh,
well, you had to change it over to the USA Network, but yeah.
no, Steve, Silk Stockings Junior. It's for it's fine. It's for kids. It'll be
Oh
fine.
man. Well, they canceled that show real quick because there was allegations that the creators were grooming kids. But yeah, I remember that one quite well. Gee. Speaking of stuff that's not for kids, we were talking about this off air. We actually got retweeted by one of the creators of one of our past episodes. Do you remember last Christmas when we talked about your favorite comic book, Chainsaw Reindeer?
Oh my God. Yeah, I do remember, Steve.
Well, the
Didn't that episode get like some kind of like mature rating or
no, that
something?
was for some reason that was the Tick Mother's Day special. But no, Brandon Reines, the writer and creator of Chainsaw Reindeer, and this is only just like a few days ago because I'm like, who's retweeting an episode of ours from like a year ago from Christmas? And I'm like, could that be? Is it? And then I went and looked at the comic and I was like, holy shit, it's him. And I don't think he actually listened to the episode because I'm pretty sure you called him a pedophile or something like that.
I don't think I called him a pedophile.
Well, something not favorable, but hey, I mean, he
Yeah.
retweeted it and he liked it or hearted it, if you will. So, what I'm trying to say, audience, is that Obscurity Now is on a rocket ride to the moon. So you better jump on
What
now.
the hell?
Otherwise, you're gonna have to catch us on the new version of Snick coming up because I hear they're hiring 40-year-olds to be on Nickelodeon shows these days.
Jesus. Well, we do have in the chat Pigdan20 slot. He said, hopefully not by Dan Schneider. Oh, was
Man,
that
that's
the,
where my niece made a remark. Is that Nickelodeon exec that's like kind of in trouble these days? Is that who that is, Pig Dan? Well, you can just message whenever you're ready.
Yeah. But continuing with the show, Steve, are you ready to discuss Are You Afraid of the Dark, episode 2
Yes.
of season 1, The Tale of Laughing?
Yes, absolutely. So, just about Are You Afraid of the Dark? The original show ran for 7 seasons from 1992 all the way to 1996. It was revived in 1999 and then again in 2019. And overall, the original run was 65 episodes. Did you try to catch any of the revived ones at any time?
No, I haven't. I'll probably check one out at some point, but I did want to point out that DJ McHale, the creator
Mm-hmm.
and of A Year for the Dark, and this episode, I think, he is involved with the new series that's going on
Right.
now. He's written quite a few episodes.
Yep, I saw that.
So,
Mhm.
I don't know if they're any good or not, but it's hard to argue that it's not at least in line with what the original creator would want, since they're writing a bunch of the
Sure.
episodes. So.
Well, I'll tell you. I tried to watch the one.
The tone of your voice tells me that DJ McHale will not be retweeting.
I
this
mean,
episode.
I just felt like I got nothing bad to say about him. I'll just say that I just felt like I was too old for it. That's all there is to it. There was,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I mean, we should be, right?
in theory,
Technically.
right. I mean, you have to graduate to Tales from the Crypt, or it's lesser new
Or Tales from the Dark Side.
or a Creep Show, which is going on now, which sadly I wanted to be as good as Tales from the Crypt, but it's not. But that's another story. So the synopsis for this particular episode is A kid named Josh decides to prove that a fun house isn't haunted by stealing the nose of the clown who was supposed to haunt the place. He learns that the story isn't fiction when Zebo pays him a little visit. And
Dun, dun,
yeah,
dun.
this was directed by Ron Oliver. And his first directing credit is actually Prom Night 3. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the prom nights, but I've. Yeah, okay. So you know. And then, it's called Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss. And then he has directed other Nickelodeon shows, such as The Secret World of Alex Mack, which we might want to cover someday, Goosebumps, and non-Nickelodeon show Police Academy the series, which must have been great because everyone's still talking about that in 2022.
Oh man, who doesn't have a favorite episode from each season?
Right? And this was written by the show's creator, DJ McHale, as Yahel said, and he previously worked on Ghost Rider, Encyclopedia Brown, and then out of nowhere, the Toxic Crusaders cartoon, which we definitely need to cover that one as well someday. And this was produced by a company known as YTV, which I'm guessing stands for Youth Television. So, who are some of the thespians who was in this episode?
Before I get to them, just to follow up, Dan Schneider is Pig Dan 24 here, put it in the chat. And for those that downloaded the show's podcast, you can listen to us live on Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time if you live in a real time zone like me.
Good plug.
Anyways, he mentioned that Dan Schneider was the showrunner for iCarly and Drake and Josh. And yeah, I mean, I do remember hearing about all the allegations regarding him. I won't go into it just to make sure YouTube keeps the this episode up, but yeah.
I will say that I saw a picture of that guy, and not that anyone should judge anyone by their cover, but man, it looks like the allegations might be true. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, moving right along to the cast. First up, we have Christian Tessier playing Josh. He is one of these people. He's still working. He's pretty active. He's been in tons of stuff. I couldn't see like anything like major that I saw him do. The only other thing I recognized that once I saw on his IMDb was he was Duck in Battlestar Galactica, the reboot.
Huh. Interesting.
But yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's even had some recurring characters on big shows. But you know, I think his biggest accomplishment that he should be most proud of is being Mickey in Battlefield Earth. So,
Big Dad is referencing our old Super Mario show with the cake.
oh. All right. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that clip that basically made us on TikTok. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. All right. Up next we have Aaron Tager, who he's credited as playing Zebo. But I guess the whole thing is that the carny out front is Zebo's.
Could be. And there is like there's this brief moment where they show him dressed as the clown. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, there is his friend. I think this was his friend Ross.
Ouija
was his friend. Oh, that's right. Not a real name. Anyways, that's played by Daniel Feinstone, who has not been in too much. He was in this, and then he was in a series of 5 movies called For Better or For Worse. And then the name of the movie, he was For Better or Worse, The Last Camping Trip, For Better or Worse, A Christmas Angel, so on and so forth, finishing with For Better or For Worse, The Babe Magnet.
Huh.
Steve, have you ever heard of the For Better or For Worse movie series?
For Better or For Worse, no. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because this production has quite a few Canadian names in it and some Canadian production companies towards the end. So yeah, this was definitely in Canada. Where it was. Yes. But anyways, there's also a bunch of other people that play like characters in the Midnight Society, and I don't want to spend the entire podcast here going over them. The other person that was important to the story was the other friend, Kathy,
Mm-hmm.
played by Tamar Kozlov,
So
who I
Ouija's
remember
sister.
once.
Ouija's sister. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, yes. Played by Tamar Kozlov. She was active till about 2017, but I remember her for being the sister of Vladimir Kozlov, who beat Undertaker clean in a mid 2000s SmackDown episode with a power slam. How's that for a
Well, I heard
reference?
she did graduate from the Heart Dungeon. So,
Ah, yes, yes.
wow. Well, that's awesome.
Pig Dan 20 had asked, "What is SNCC?" And just for anybody who didn't hear earlier, it was like a block of programming that Nickelodeon did on Saturday
Mm-hmm.
nights, aimed more towards
Mm-hmm.
teens. They'd occasionally have some light cursing on these shows, like Hell or Damn. Uh,
It was.
I don't know. So the shows were just geared more towards like a teenage audience, as opposed to children. They didn't get aired like at 8 o'clock at night
I
for that
remember
reason.
one of the promos for it. It was like, "Hey, fellow teens, stop making out. We've got some cool shows you should be watching." Eh? Remember that one?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Hey, teens, don't disappoint your parents by getting pregnant tonight.
Oh,
Watch
you sound like
Roundhouse.
Notch Johnson, like at the end when he does his his spiel.
It's the gummy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is pretty much the important cast for today's
Hmm.
story. And shall we dive into the tale
Yes, of course, sir.
of
I
laughing at the
know you're in a big hurry. Let's do it. All right. So
I, time right now isn't moving the way it normally does. So it's for me.
all right then, Space Cowboy, let's do this. All right, so we open on a carnival at night. There's a narrator. It's one of the Midnight Society, obviously, and she's telling us that the carnival was called Playland, and there was a spook house in there called Laughing in the Dark. And then they cut to inside the spook house, and kids scream their heads off at like bad animatronics. It's your typical sort of funhouse kind of bad carnival ride. And then it shows
Hmm.
several doors at the end with numbers on them, and this is important for later. The kids pick door number 6, and out pops Zebo the clown. And if you've never seen it, basically he's just a statue, kind of a creepy looking clown. I mean, there's definitely
Right.
been creepier in the history of creepy clowns. Let's see, and I've got a question here for you. What did your parents ever take you to, like a sort of a questionable carnival or anything like that when you were younger?
Man, Steve, I can't remember being to a carnival that isn't questionable. Uh, they're all like kind of, I don't know. They always seem thrown together very quickly in terms of the rides and the structures because they are.
Of course, and it's funny that you bring that up because there's a new episode of Theme Park Legends coming out soon in which I interviewed an actual carny. A guy who was basically raised in the carnival
Oh, nice.
business. But yeah, like I think one of the reasons why this episode kind of definitely stuck with me and resonated with me when I was younger is that my dad was in the theme park business. Of course, a theme park is a couple of steps above a carnival, but still the same. I guess it's the whole episode is about what if something followed you home from the theme park? Like, what if you kicked Mickey Mouse in the shin and then he followed you home and then, roughed you
Right,
up?
right.
Yeah. So anyway, then we basically cut to the Midnight Society. And in case you don't know who the Midnight Society is, because you've never watched an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? They are a diverse group of teens who meet around a campfire and tell spooky stories for our amusement basically every Saturday night, more or less. And Christine, she's the blonde member. They say her name later. She stands up and leaves because she says, "Oh, this is a clown story. I hate clowns." And then the other members make fun of her, as well they should.
Yeah, we're the support
Yeah,
group.
no, we'll see. One thing, I mean, I guess we're getting into it a little early, but one thing I like about this episode is that the kids actually act like kids in the way
Yeah.
that they rag on each other and make fun of each other. But anyway, so they make fun of her, and she stays and says, "Do your worst." And then at the beginning of every episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, they've got this sort of magic dust, and they throw the dust onto the fire, and the fire ignites a little bit more, and then they tell you the name of the story. And this one is called
It's the ashes of whichever member of the Midnight Society told the worst stories from the year
Whoa,
before.
is that true?
They vote on it at the end of the year. They vote on it, and if you're at the bottom of the list, you are burned, turned into ash, and now you are used for next year's.
Wow. I've always
Fire, just completing the circle of.
thank you for confirming that urban legend. I've always heard of it. I just never knew it was true.
Yeah.
So yeah, this
It's completely true, Steve.
this one is called The Tale of Laughing in the Dark. And are you one of those people who's afraid of clowns? Like, what are your thoughts on clowns?
No, you know what's funny? When I lived in Puerto Rico, we would come and visit like every summer to the States, where we'd stay with my grandparents here. And my grandmother had a room. It was called the clown room. She had maybe like 200 or 300 clowns in this room, and that's where I would sleep.
Oh, wow.
Whenever I stayed over. So yeah, the shadows at night, from like the moonlight would definitely make them look a little creepy every once in a while. I'm like 6 or 7, but
that explains so much, and you're definitely a guy who should be living in Tampa, Florida.
I want to argue, but I.
All right, so we cut to the. Oh, and I'm not really afraid of clowns either. I don't understand why there's this. I don't know. It's got a name like clownophobia or something like that, and yeah.
Well, actually, Steve, they tell us the name of it.
Bozophobia, right?
Yeah, that's
a medical term.
Yeah, so it's just a line that one of the characters
Right.
says in the episode for those listening. Steve and I aren't this stupid.
I think you might be right now, but you have a reason.
maybe.
You have a good reason. So anyway, we are back in the carnival. 3 friends walk through Fun World, which is actually a theme park called Le Ronde Park in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Like, as they were walking, I was like, I wonder what the name of that, where this was shot, what theme park it's in. And if you're a theme park junkie, there you go. It's Le Ronde Park in Montreal,
Wow.
Quebec, Canada.
Nice job with the research,
I
Steve.
try.
The team's gonna be happy when they hear.
I might make partner this year. So
Yeah.
they stop at the Spook House, and the youngest member is the only female member is Kathy, and she's the younger sister of Ouija. And then their other friend is Josh. He's the ginger, and she says that she does not want to go into the Spook House because she heard it's actually haunted, and her brother Ouija backs her up. And then ginger friend Josh calls them chicken. And then he sort of is backing up, and he bumps into the head Carney, which that's what he's billed as, is just Carney. And Carney, he's all like, "So you don't believe in old Zebo, do you?" And he's like, he says he's in there waiting for you. And then he says one of the many sort of rhyming mantras that goes through this episode, and it's "Pick the right door and you'll go free. Pick the wrong door and there he'll be." And then he ushers Josh to go into the house, but he declines because it's obvious that he's scared. What do you think of the performance of the Carney here? I forgot his name. Do you remember it by any chance?
The actor, Aaron Taylor.
Yeah. What do you think of
But,
the Carney here?
Oh, he's great as the Carney. I really like him. Looks the part, sounds the
He's got
part.
the bad
that
yellow
I've-
teeth. Like, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, basically the stereotype that I've created in my mind, completely unfair to people that work in the carnival industry. Yeah, he justifies it to me as a real thing. Yeah, so but yeah, I really like this initial setup. And the kids acting is okay. I mean, kid actors, I don't know, they tend, in my opinion, to not be very good most times.
Usually, yeah.
So I'll say like no one's great from the kids side of things, but they're fine. They're serviceable.
Yep,
better
that's
than
the word that I would use, and I think it's the writing that really sort of saves the somewhat mediocre performances at times.
Maybe saying kids are serviceable isn't the best way to. Kids are serviceable isn't the best way to
Jesus.
You need to delete
Okay, moving on. All right. Too late. This is live, buddy. All right, now we're back
this.
with
We'll do it live, pal.
now we're back with the Midnight Society, and Kristen is looking anxious, and then they basically get back into the story, and they are in, I guess it's a Ouija's super cool bedroom. Can you do you remember what this bedroom looked like?
It's like a hockey.
Yeah, one of them was
arena
playing
slash
hockey. I mean,
thing?
obviously, this was shot in Canada because Josh, while Ouija and Kathy are sitting there looking at articles of the history of the spook house, for whatever reason.
Yeah, where did they get these from? Who knows?
Yeah, they didn't have internet back then. I guess
And each article is like super long, like the paper.
they must have gone
It's
to
like-
the local library and looked up some microfiche.
It's supposed to be like Canadian paper sizes or something. It's like this superly rectangular
Right.
piece of.
But Josh is over there practicing his slap shot for some reason, and Ouija finds out. But anyway, the bedroom reminded.
Wait, but Steve, this is his bedroom. We really are glossing.
Yeah,
over
I was
this
just about to
fucking
jump into it. I was going to say the bedroom is on par with that of Johnny Arcade's bedroom in Video
man,
Power.
okay. Like if those people had made one that was hockey themed.
Right. There you go. That's it.
He's got like a miniature like hockey net in there.
I think it
There's
was
like,
full size. I mean,
Oh, maybe
I'm
you're
no
right.
expert.
Like he was like skating around. There were like an audience painted on the wall. Like they could not have made this just for this one scene, right?
Yeah, they probably use it from another show, but more power to them.
What show could? Like I am so curious about the origin of this set. Maybe it's the weed gummy. I don't know, Steve. But it just seems like something I'd like to explore
Well,
and make it my personality going
Well,
forward.
Agent Yahel, you can do some side research on your own once this episode is over. So Kathy reads an article, says that Zebo, they start out with saying that this isn't the first spook house, that the original burned down and they built a new one. And the reason why it burned down was because Zebo, who was a real clown who worked in the original spook house, he stole the carnival's payroll. The cops chased him into the spook house, but the whole place caught fire because of one of Zebo's discarded cigar butts. So there you go, kids. That's a big anti-smoking lesson there for you. Don't smoke cigars. You might just burn yourself down in a spook house. And so, yeah, in fact, Josh has some pretty funny one-liners. I mean, they're not like belly laughs, but he says, looks like smoking is bad for your health. And yeah, Zebo perished in the fire. And then they say they built a new Laughing in the Dark, which, as we said, is the name of the spook house. And they built a spooky dummy of Zebo at the end, just to sort of, I don't know, pay tribute to him. And legend has it that the ghost of Zebo is trapped in the funhouse. And then, out of nowhere, I guess just in here.
What did you think of that? What did you think of that like backstory for Zebo?
I liked it. I mean, I would say
Me
it's
too.
very, very Scooby-Doo, but that is okay for the age group that we're dealing with. And it helps set the stage for what Josh is going to experience once we get into the second act.
Yeah, and I like that they made it like a bit of a darker story than you would usually see on
Someone
a show that's
actually-
geared towards kids. Although again, this is more like for teens. Yeah, like somebody actually dies, you know, in a gruesome way, burned alive, you know. So,
And
yeah, it's good stuff.
for sure. And out of nowhere, I guess he was trying to just sort of break the tension, or maybe he was, because Josh is kind of a jerk, if we haven't painted it yet, pretty arrogant. And he tries to tickle Kathy, which is a little weird, but, you know.
Well, he says that like Zebo, he heard that like Zebo likes to trap children, and he actually gets to do something vicious, he goes, and tickle them, and he's like, tickle, tickle, tickle.
Right. And they're friends, so it's all okay. And so.
Yeah. I mean, this is, you know, stuff kids would do.
I'm just, I'm trying to say that it's okay.
I mean, Canadian kids, obviously the kids in America are too tough to be ticklish.
Right.
They're too badass at countries.
So, basically, Josh chases Kathy outside of the house. Kathy runs to their garbage pail, which is on the side of the road, and grabs the top, and Josh runs into the top of it and falls into the grass. What did you sort of think about that bit of slapstick?
I mean, unnecessary, but it was fine.
Yeah.
And at least like it helps them have a little bit of a character moment because for a show that has it's only 22 minutes once you take out the commercials, and you've got like 3 or so Midnight Society segments in there as well. They managed to like really develop these kids' characters pretty well. It's like like writers could take note here of DJ McHale's the way he developed the characters in such a short period of time.
Ba 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 ba. DJ McHale in the house. Mer, 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 mer. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
No,
sure.
no, I actually agree with you. But see, I was trying to think like, why is that there? And so basically, Josh falls down, and then Kathy delivers a very sort of, I don't know, she's a very sort of spunky 90s, like little kid sister kind of thing. She says, "Don't
Right.
mess or I'll bung you in the head." Bung?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the whole reason why it's there is that it's sort of,
Because Paul Heyman paid them some money to use a trash can lid on a child's head, to promote ECW.
thank
right?
you for another pro wrestling reference. But no, it's there because I think they wanted to hurt Josh's pride, so he gets basically angry and gets up and he says, "You guys have to be doofuses to think this is real. Like that's why they built the Zebo statue to scare kids, and this is what leads up to Ouija daring Josh to go in there alone." And then they have a really cool transition where, like Josh puts his hand on Ouija, and they sort of he sort of moves them towards the camera, and then bam, they're right in front of the carnival, and it's at night again.
Yeah.
And Josh says, "You're going to regret that because I'm going to go in there right now." And then like Ouija's like, "Oh well, how are we going to know if he actually goes through with it? You need to steal Zebo's nose." And so basically that sets off Josh, and he approaches the entrance of the spook house.
Yeah, and the bet ends up then becoming that he's going to get the nose, but then Ouija's going to have to wear the nose for a week. at
Yes,
school.
thank you for adding that. So he approaches the entrance and bumps into the carny once again and says, and we got another fun little rhyme here from the carny, and he says, "It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark." And then Josh ventures forward and counting all the lame animatronics, which, man, they really nailed those. They really did. He
Yeah.
sees a mirror, and then there's a giant dragon's head that shoots flame, a real flame. I don't know if they would have those in the real world, but whatever. It looked cool on the show. And then he starts smelling cigar smoke. And then he enters the room with the doors with the numbers on it. And he immediately picks the right door to where that would allow him to exit the spook house, like no harm, no foul. But then he realizes that he has to get the nose or he'll be, quote, dead meat. There's actually a lot of monologuing from Josh that we're going
Yeah.
to see. But again, I think it's okay for the crowd that we're dealing with. And he's obviously scared, and he's trying to like man up. At one point, he starts beating his chest and reciting Jordan Peterson quotes. And yeah, he ends up grabbing the nose, and then he's good. What did you think about Josh's journey through the funhouse?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. Like you said, there is a lot of monologue, but it shows us a lot too about his character and what his character's supposed to be. So it works for that stuff. And like you said, it's for the audience that it's for. It's certainly like more than just serviceable. But yeah, I really like the funhouse and how they set everything up, and some neat angles were used too in there to add to the creepiness. So all in all, pretty good.
Some fun colors, and then it's great. So after he grabs the nose, of course he feels like a big alpha male. And no longer is he an incel. He's a big alpha male, And I don't know if they did this on purpose, but Josh pretty much gives Zebo the middle finger. He's got the nose on his middle finger, and he's like, see you later, Zebo. Did you notice that?
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
No, I was like too distracted by how much of a man he had become.
His voice changed.
Yeah.
He had like a 5 o'clock
Yeah,
shadow. It was
yeah.
amazing.
I knew I was no longer the leader of the pack because of his alpha.
You were taking down a whole
Steve.
pail or peg.
Yeah.
A whole peg. So yeah, Josh leaves, and then the camera pans down to the crack of Zebo's door, and we see some lights and smoke emanating from it. And now we are back with the Midnight Society, and Kiki tells Christine to give up, and Christine says she's fine. Now, what do you think about Kiki and her attire? Do you know which one Kiki is? Do I need to describe her to you?
Yeah, which one was Kiki?
She's I'd say she's
Oh, wait, Kiki's the one that's harassing the blonde girl about being
well, they're
scared,
all
right?
sort of harassing her, but yeah, I would say Kiki maybe more than others. But she's you know,
Oh, look it up
she's a
here.
person of color, and she's wearing all denim and a red headband. What do you think of that outfit?
Well, I remember the Spanish guy that they had on the show. Like they also had him dressing like kind of similarly like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a kid, I hated that crap because being Puerto Rican, I was like, oh God, great, another one of us that's like dressed like this.
So basically, what you're saying is you don't want to wear a red headband in order to increase our downloads and subscribers?
No.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
I mean,
don't.
yeah, it's a pretty bad stereotype. I mean, it's not the actress's fault in any way. It's just a lack
No.
of.
But they're trying. It's just what a coincidence that the person of color is the one that's like street or urban.
Yeah, that's like
what a
the
coincidence.
really only kind of dated, kind of cringy thing that happened in this episode, at least, I would say.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, then again, like, I'm looking at some pictures from like other episodes, with her, and sometimes they have her dressed like, I don't know. I'm starting to think urban wasn't or hip hop wasn't what they were going for. I think they might have been going for
a member of the Warriors.
I don't. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I'll have to
Kiki,
get
come
back
out
to you
and
offline about
play! All right.
But either way, yeah, they made her like the sassy.
Yeah, it's stereotype
woman of color.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. That's what they did back then.
But she does a good job. I mean, she does a good job with her performance for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So now we cut to Ouija, and they are back. I think they are at Ouija's house again, and he's wearing a Zebo's nose. Yeah, they're out sitting on the steps. And Josh acts like it was nothing. He's super arrogant. His machismo is over the top. His like,
He's oozing machismo.
yeah, he's gonna be getting all the ladies now. And they basically Josh annoys Ouija so much to where he takes off the nose and throws it. And Kathy calls Josh a snot. Ooh, I can't believe they allowed that. And then they go inside, and Josh is like, I'll go get it for you. You have to wear it at school later. And he sort of traverses the corner of the house, and he smells cigar smoke again. He picks up the...
Yeah, I think we actually see the cigar.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to that. He picks it up and goes, and then again, much like in the funhouse, the camera pans, and they show the cigar smoke, and you hear Zebo laughing. Again, he's around the corner, and they never...
But we don't see him.
Yeah, they never show Zebo, except for, I guess I left this out of my notes. When Josh is going through the house, there's a really brief shot, like behind, when he's looking into the funhouse mirror, they show the Carney in like the clown makeup, like really briefly, but then you never see it again, which I think is super effective, as you will see. So he cautiously picks up the nose and leaves, and then we see whatever, and we hear the clown laughter. Okay, so interior, we are at Josh's place, and it's at night. He reads a letter from his parents. Parents are saying that they are gone for the night, and He's basically making his own dinner. I think we've all been home alone at one point as a young lad, so this is all like or lass. This is all super relatable. Josh hears a door creak, and already he's on edge. He grabs a bat. He goes and inspects a closet, but nothing is there. Then the phone rings, and he picks it up, and it's Ouija. And Ouija apologizes for getting angry and throwing the nose. And he's like, hey, maybe we can just call off the bet like entirely. But of course, old Josh, he's just too much of a son of a bitch. And he's like, nope, you're not getting off that easy. And then the phone and this is a sort of classic horror trope. The phone rings again, and Josh is like, I told you, Ouija, you're not getting off. But it's Zebo. And he's saying, give it back, give it back. And then Josh hangs up. Josh sets the table and monologues to himself. He takes the dinner out of the microwave, and it's smoking cigars. And he looks at the ground and sees a.
You think Josh at this point would know exactly what's going on?
Right, for sure. And what did you? Okay, so they show the footprint. Man, it's.
Oh, I love it. I love this. It's so cheesy.
There's a giant
So like
Z.
he had spilled pudding earlier, right? So like he sees this footprint, and it's like a clown shoe footprint, but in the middle of the clown shoe is a Z. So this implies that like. I guess Zebo went through the trouble of having like special custom shoes with a Z like insert into the sole of it. But yeah, pretty funny. Just cheesy and kind of campy, but honestly,
In a wonderful
works.
way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Steve, maybe the Z was for Zeus from No Holds Barred. Tiny Lister's greatest.
Ladies and gentlemen, whenever Yahel makes a reference to pro wrestling in this episode, you should take a shot. Or.
No, we want you to be awake by the end of it. By the way, we do have Smoke Monster in the chat. Good seeing you, buddy.
What up, Smoke Monster?
Yeah, you. I assume you also loved the dumb clown show.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, this is just everything about this episode is super tight, but I'll save that to the end. So Josh, he runs to his room and calls Ouija again, and he's like, "Hey, did you call my house?" He admits that he's scared and asks if Ouija called. He hears someone, pick up the phone on the other end. And this is great because they're on landlines. And, oh, man, does that take me back.
This took me back, yeah.
What's his name? Ouija is like, we only have one phone. It's got to be in your house, Josh. And it's like...
Yeah, they heard somebody picked up the line,
yeah.
basically, a second.
And it's great. It's an old shit moment. And he says if Josh...
And it's something that would only work...
in the 90s.
I mean, people still have landlines and know what they are, but, I think like in 10, 15 years, this wouldn't work.
Nope. That's why you got to keep revamping the Are You Afraid of the Dark? So he hears someone and we did that, and what's his name? Zebo says, if you don't give it back, I'll come up and get it. And Josh locks his bedroom door. And did you think it was funny that he had not only like the sliding lock, but then he had like a regular lock as well? I guess the production designers really wanted you to see the lock as he locked it.
Yeah. I thought it was weird too, especially for like a kid's room to have all these ways to like lock the door from only the inside of the room. But
so
whatever. I think it was just to move.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, the handle actually starts jiggling as if someone's on the other end trying to get in. And this was an awesome touch. A balloon like blows up from the bottom crack of the door with words written on it. Give it back. Then it pops. Like this sounds like something the Joker would do to Batman or something like that.
Yeah. Like I don't know. You really have to see it to appreciate it, but it almost looks as if though the balloon was already inflated. It squeezed itself through the bottom of the door. The way they do it, even though it's actually inflating and you're supposed to like know it's inflating, but it's a really cool, I'm sure very easy to do little
yep, it all works with the clown and creepy clown motif. Josh he escapes his room through a window, and then he basically makes his way back down to the ground and runs all the way back to the Laughing in the Dark spook house. It's now closed, so none of the animatronics are on doing their stupid animatronic thing. And he makes his way all the way to the room of doors with the numbers on it. And he opens Zebo's door. Zebo's door. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. Zebo's door opens, but this time there's just a bunch of smoke and flashing lights. You can't see into it. Josh not only gives the nose back, but he apologizes and even gives Zebo some cigars.
A box of cigars.
I mean, how a...
Where did he get... I guess maybe from his dad. They're his dad's cigars.
Yeah, I was about to say, how did a 13-year-old buy a box of cigars? But hey, it's Canada. I'm not really familiar with Canadian law.
And it's like a big, nice, I think maybe even wooden box of cigars. Like, it's not
Zebo
like
was like, are these Cubans? No, that did. And so, yeah, he puts it down, and then Zebo's door closes. And then the right one opens that allows you to escape. And then we see one last shot. After Josh leaves, we see one last shot of Zebo with his nose laughing. And then outside of the spook house, Josh sees the carny smoking one of the cigars that he gave, and he's laughing. And then that's pretty much the end of the story. And we are back with the Midnight Society. And then, and I really like this touch because they argue about the ambiguity of the end of the story, saying that, oh, the old man was Zebo. And then another one was like, well, how could he have done all that stuff at Josh's house? And then, then they didn't even have this point. Like, what if this was all in Josh's head, man? What if he was just going on like a, a big psychological journey here, dude?
He is a red hair.
So the younger Midnight Society member, the one who was sitting next to Christian, I promised myself I was going to write his name down, but I guess I didn't. He looks up at Kristen with a clown mask on, and she freaks out and runs away. And the guy who's the leader, he says, meeting adjourned. And at the end of every episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, they pour water on the fire, and they usually say that's the end of their meeting or whatever. But this time he just says...
Yeah, I can't remember. They have like a little saying for the meeting being adjourned.
Yeah, and then they all run after Kristen and the other dude. And that is the end of the story of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Anything else to add on the big climax of Laughing in the Dark?
No, I think you covered it pretty well, actually. I'm ready to run to it.
Okay, let's do that. Let me just find it here real quick.
Remember how I rated that with the question.
All right, submitted for your approval, Yahel Velazquez. Do you think that Are You Afraid of the Dark should be left in the darkness of the 90s, never to be heard from again? Or should it continue to be remade until, I don't know, humanity is destroyed by aliens?
Well, Steve, I don't think we have a choice because there's currently a reboot or a continuation of Are You Afraid of the Dark that started like in 2019 or something. That's running strong, apparently. But as for the OG Are You Afraid of the Dark, I definitely say save it. Really good show, still holds up. I think I watched this episode randomly, maybe like a year or two ago.
Wow, that is random.
Yeah. So, I really like the show. It holds up surprisingly well. I mean, you're not going to come away from any of these episodes like genuinely scared. Some of them are a little creepy, but they're still fun. What about you?
Oh, I agree 100%. This particular episode and the OG series should definitely be preserved, tossed in a time capsule, so future shows can know how to write kids properly. And that's what I enjoyed about it the most. The kids acted like kids, and it was just a really tight plot. And and this is one of the few ones that I remember being slightly creeped out about. They did a good job with the suspense, like at the end when Zebo pops out, or even before when he's like, about to take the nose. You just, I think that's one of the things when you look at like a statue of something, and that's like, one of the classic sort of tricks. If you go through a haunt, you go into a room and there's a bunch of like statues. and you don't know which of the one is real. You know, that's one of sort of the classic fears, if you will, that this episode sort of plays on. And I think there's a general distrust of carnies and carnival folk.
Right.
Which, I don't know, according to the guy that I interviewed, the industry has cleaned itself up over the years. But once again, you can check out that episode.
This guy's Vince McMahoning you during an
Well,
interview.
he's conning me, is what he is. I'm his mark.
Yeah,
for sure. But 100%. Are You Afraid of the Dark should be saved. So let me just find the. Why do I always have a hard time finding these things? And there it is.
In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show.
All right, so that's Are You Afraid of the Dark? Good show indeed. Mr. Agent.
Yeah, and you can watch it on. I know it's part of Paramount Plus. I think that's the only place, and the new series I believe is there as well. I know that you said that it made you feel like you felt like you were too old for it. Basically, it made you feel like it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
quite as adult friendly, I guess.
I don't know. It didn't feel like the original enough. It was weird. Like they focused. I feel like they actually focused more, at least on that pilot episode that I watched. They were focusing more on like the new member joining. Like it opens up with like her in her room listening to popular tween music and stuff, and she's like, "Oh no, I almost forgot," and she's like running because she's like late for the meeting, and then all the other members are like, "She's late. I don't know if we can trust her. Well, let's give her a chance anyway." And I just.
Well, you know, there is at least one episode I can remember of the original Are You Afraid of the Dark, where part of the story is a new person joining.
It might be the pilot, to be honest with you.
And they have to do basically to get into the Midnight Society. They have to like tell like a good ghost story. At least that's how I remember it. But yeah, I mean, overall, you know, like I said, the show is on Paramount Plus, and yeah, definitely worth a watch. They also have Nick Arcade up there.
Nice.
I know the whole season.
So my question to you is, should we delve further into the back catalog of early '90s Nickelodeon?
Yeah, dude. I funny you mentioned Hey Dude offline. I am down to cover Hey Dude. Maybe we were online, Steve. I don't know when.
Lay off the gummies there,
What is
bro.
the
All right.
offline?
Well, I know you have to get going. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone you love or you want to scare. And we'd love to have your sub or download or however you're experiencing Obscurity Now. And of course, we've got a PayPal link if you would like to support us. But of course, what support us even more is if you bought a comic book. So at the end of this, there's going to be a promo for the comic book that I wrote called Escape to Earth. And we'll see you next Sunday as we continue to unearth even more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. See you next time. I'm having a weird day. The name's Adam. Where I'm from, I'm known as the Zero Thief. Depending on who you ask, some might say I'm the best thief. But believe it or not, even the best screws up every once in a while, and that's what I did, and I had to make a fast getaway. I ended up crash landing on this bizarre planet. Turns out, I didn't get away fast enough. These winged freaks followed me here.
It's just us here, Zero Thief, on this empty backwoods planet. So start talking, either to me or my blade.
Okay, I do have something to tell you. It's about the planet. It's not that empty. Come on, man, I thought you were gonna duck. Cut me loose! Behind you! Whoa! Thought I was done for. It was gonna be a light snack for a snarling creature, but then she showed up, riding on the back of one of those monsters like it was nothing, and with a wave of her hand, the other razor-toothed beast just stomped away. I'd never seen anyone like her before in my life. I thought I'd say something clever. Thanks, have you seen my ship?
She gave me a look that said more than words ever could, because I think she was trying to read my mind or something. And from there, things just got even weirder. Escape to Earth. 36 pages of insane dinosaur action. Issue 1 available now at reptilianmedia.bigcartel.com, featuring a variant cover by Sean Forney. Act now while supplies last. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.